What if pain isn't the problem, but actually the pathway back to you? You're listening to The Leadership Wound, From Pain to Permission. I'm Amanda Rohr, your host and founder of Authentically You, coaching for embodied spiritual living and leading. This is where we get honest about the real cost of leadership, the burnout, the pretending, the rejection, and the return to your authentic self. Because this isn't about performance, it's about permission. Welcome to the leader you've always been. Leadership, especially self-leadership, isn't about controlling others or controlling your circumstance. It's about ownership. It's about showing up with integrity and clarity for your own life, even when things around you feel unclear. Welcome back to The Leadership Wound, where we tell the truth about leadership and all that it cost you. If you've been here for a few episodes, you know we just wrapped a powerful series called The Hardest Person You'll Ever Lead Is You. In that series, we explored what it means to really see yourself, to lead with self-awareness, to embrace feedback with courage, and to release the pressure of perfectionism. And it struck a nerve, didn't it? At least it did for me. Because here's the truth. Leadership doesn't just challenge your skill set. It exposes your soul. And if you're leading authentically, really putting yourself out there, you've probably felt it one way or another. There's all kinds of examples of our leadership wounds, and they're not weaknesses. They're a sign that you're showing up fully and that you're human. This podcast exists to name that cost, the one that no one prepares you for, and to find your way back to your authentic self. Today, we're going to step into a new series. If the last one was about seeing yourself, this one is about becoming yourself. It's the new rules of self-leadership, which are to decide, to act, and to become. We'll share 4 episodes on how to stop waiting for the elusive motivation and start leading from alignment. Because motivation, it's overrated. And today we're going to talk about why that is. Let's start with a truth most people try to avoid. And that is motivation is unreliable and it's overrated. Sure, it feels great when it shows up. You feel energized, you're excited, you're ready to tackle the world. But what about those other days? The days where you feel drained, overwhelmed, unsure, and you have no idea where to start. If you're waiting for motivation, you'll wait forever. And I know this all too well, especially as an entrepreneur. In the beginning, when you're building something new, everything feels uncertain. You pour your heart in, but the results don't always show up right away. You begin to question yourself. You doubt the timing. You doubt whether it's going to happen. You wonder if you've missed out or even if you're cut out for this. You see everyone else succeeding, but wondering when your breakthrough is going to come. And those are the exact moments when motivation disappears. Not because you're not passionate, but because you're human. And honestly, that's when most people give up. But what I've learned, and what I want you to hear today, is that motivation is never the thing that carries you forward. Conviction does. Alignment does. Leadership isn't about being in the mood. It's about making aligned decisions with who you truly are, even when you're tired, when you're scared, when you're uncertain, when it looks like there's no way forward. Let's be honest, we've been sold the lie that motivation is the engine of change. That if we just read the right quote, or watch the right reel on social media, or shout the right affirmation, we'll be ready somehow miraculously. But most of us know deep down that this doesn't last. Maybe for a moment, but not long term. And at worst, it keeps us stuck in a cycle of waiting to feel ready. But what if readiness isn't a feeling at all? What if readiness is a decision? I want to offer you something better than motivation today, something stronger, something that can carry you on the days when your energy is low, when your doubts are loud, when you don't want to get out of bed, when you're not quite sure what to even do today. Let's talk about 3 things to lead with instead of motivation. The first one is clarity. You need to know what actually matters to you the most. Clarity isn't about having all the answers. It's about knowing what questions are worth answering and when. And in coaching, we go deep into this. We uncover what matters to you, not just what's been expected of you. And that's the process. It changes everything when you ask yourself what matters the most. Because when you're clear on your why, you don't need motivation. You have direction. You have purpose. You have conviction and alignment with your authentic self. And I've experienced this firsthand. When I left my last leadership role, I didn't have all the answers, but I had this persistent knowing. There was more. There was a deeper, more authentic way to live and lead, one that was true to who I was and the giftings that God had given me. Starting my coaching business wasn't about having everything figured out. It was about finally listening to what had been stirring in me for years. I kept asking the deeper questions. What do I care most about? What conversations am I drawn to? Where have I experienced transformation that could help someone else? Those questions, not quick fixes or strategic formulas, are what led me here. And they continue to lead me forward. Even when things are unclear or hard, I have clarity on my why. And it's not a one-time event. It's a practice that you do over and over. And when you build your life and leadership around what truly matters to you, not just what's familiar or what's expected of you, you stop waiting for motivation and you start moving from alignment. The second thing to lead from is decision. Motivation often waits, but decision moves forward. When you lead from decision, you take back your agency. You're no longer outsourcing your momentum to how you feel or how things look or what presents for you. You're not relying on a mood. You're rooted in choice. And that doesn't mean your feelings or moods aren't important. They absolutely are. They're signals, messages from your body. They tell you when something's off, when you need rest, or when fear is speaking a little too loudly. But feelings were never meant to drive the bus. And if they're negative or overwhelming, they're not where you want to stay anyways. You can't rely on your emotions to conjure up motivation to make the decisions you need to make. Decisions that lead you toward joy, hope, peace, and purpose. Those come from a clarity on your why. That's where decisions become an act of leadership because you decide, truly decide. You stop trying to control what isn't yours. You stop managing other people's reactions. You stop rearranging your life around someone else's disapproval or silence. You stop trying to get circumstances to line up perfectly before you move forward. And you let people have their free will. You let situations be what they are. You let them. And you do what your most highest authentic self, your future self, your true self would do. That phrase, let them, has been popularized by Mel Robbins, and for good reason. It's a powerful reminder that your decision doesn't require their approval. In fact, the moment you accept people for where they are and accept your circumstances for what they are, it's the moment you take back your own authority, your own autonomy, because you can let people misunderstand you. It's okay. And you can let people doubt you. And you can let things be uncertain and still make decisions. Because those people and those situations don't have to define you or even block you from being and becoming who you were meant to be. Leadership, especially self-leadership, isn't about controlling others or controlling your circumstance. It's about ownership. It's about showing up with integrity and clarity for your own life. even when things around you feel unclear. You get to choose how you lead. You get to choose how you respond. And you get to choose what you pursue, regardless of what is happening around you. The only one you can change, the only circumstances you can change are your own. All of this is life-giving and transformative because you don't have to let what's happening around you dictate how you're experiencing your life. And the last thing that we can lead from instead of motivation is our identity. This one is huge because identity is where the deepest shift happens within us. When you make decisions based on who you are and who you are becoming, not just who you've been trained to be, not just who people expect you to be, but you start living from alignment and aligned action, there's a powerful force within you. That powerful force within you begins to emerge. Why? Because when you act from identity, you're not performing. You're actually embodying the leader you have always been, the one you were created to be. You're not trying to prove something. You're actually practicing something that's already true. Let me just say that again so that you can wrap your head around that. It's not about trying to prove something. It's actually about practicing something that is already true within. And that creates a kind of consistency that no amount of motivation can replicate. That's exactly why I chose the phrase coaching for embodied spiritual living and leading as the tagline for my coaching business. Because this isn't about performing better. It's about becoming more fully yourself. It's about alignment, integration, wholeness, and learning how to live and lead from the inside out. Not for approval, but from identity. Identity-based action is sustainable. It doesn't burn out when things get hard. It doesn't cave under pressure. It actually reinforces the kind of leader and person you are and that you're becoming. It becomes less about what should I do and more about who am I and how does that person lead? I've seen this firsthand in my own house. My daughters are runners, and they've taught me so much about identity through that simple fact. Because even when they're injured, even when they've had a rough race, even when they don't feel like it, even when the weather does not cooperate, they don't stop running. They don't just stop running because it's not easy or they're not in the mood. They're not fair weather runners. I have one who lives in Florida and she gets up at the crack of dawn to beat the heat. I mean, who does that? Only a person who has identified themselves as a runner, no matter what the circumstances are. They lace up their shoes, put on their spandex, because being a runner isn't just something they do, it's who they are. That identity shapes everything. It shapes how they eat, how they rest, their mindset, how they bounce back from disappointment, and how they keep showing up even when it's hard. They don't wait to feel like runners. They run because they are runners. That's what it looks like to live from identity. It's when your actions are driven by who you claim yourself to be, not by how confident or how comfortable you feel in the moment. Because when your identity leads, your actions follow. And the gap between who you are and how you show up begins to close. That's not just growth, that's integrity. That's the kind of leadership that lasts. That's the kind of leadership that's transparent and where people can actually tell your heart and your character. And that's the kind of coaching and leadership I'm most passionate about because it brings life to people and it's sustainable leadership. So here's the big shift for today. Motivation asks the question, do I feel like it today? But alignment says, this is who I am now. Let's move into a reflection and integration time as we wrap up this first episode in the new rules of self-leadership. I want to leave you with these questions. Where in your life are you still waiting to feel ready instead of deciding to move forward? What would shift if you stopped asking, "Do I feel like it today?" and you start asking, "Who am I? And what does alignment to that identity look like today?" And lastly, what's one small way, one small decision that you can make today that would embody your true identity? Take a moment to think about that, to maybe even write it down or say it out loud. Let that take root, because this isn't about another self-help strategy. It's about honoring the truth of who you are and leading from that place. If something in this episode spoke to you today, something deep within you, maybe that quiet ache of knowing there's more to you than what you've seen, let's not just leave it there. Clarity doesn't come by overthinking. It comes through sitting down and reflecting on what is deep inside. Because decisions don't get easier with time. They get clearer with support. And identity isn't something you stumble into. It's something you practice into being. And that's what we do in coaching here at Authentically You. We don't just chase motivation. We build alignment to our authentic self. And if you're ready to get clear on what actually matters to you, not just what's expected, and if you're ready to make decisions that are rooted in purpose and peace and not in fear or performance, and if you're ready to start leading from your identity instead of pressure, then I encourage you to run to my website and book a free 30-minute growth plan consult at authenticallyu.org. And trust me, this isn't a sales pitch. This is an invitation to stop waiting for motivation to knock on your door and to start living and leading today who you desire to be. While you're there, you can download my free morning meditation. It's a powerful way to begin living and leading each day from clarity and not chaos. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode in this series. Until next time, lead like you.